Got some apple cinnamon pancakes cooking up here. We'll see how these are. Okay, obviously I liked those. Hello friends, family, total strangers. Today's video is a questions and answers. And I haven't done one of these videos in a really long time, maybe 2 or 3 years. And I got a ton of questions, which I wasn't really expecting. So let's get right into it, because yeah, lots of questions. Question number 1 is from B. Thompson. Hello, Bruce and Judy. They were asking about an Ireland story, which I must have mentioned at some point in a video, but I have no memory of doing that. But so I went to Ireland in 2011, and it was October of 2011, October into November, and I went to the Cork Jazz Festival in Cork, Ireland. I think it was like a 5-day festival, something like that. It was great time. On the first day of the festival, it was kind of all around the city, really, in bars, in auditoriums, on the street. You know, they had all these different jazz bands playing, and I caught the tail end of this Dixieland band playing on the street, and they said, you know, whoa, we're going to be playing at whatever hotel in, you know, at 5 o'clock or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go check that out. So I go to the hotel, and it's a super fancy hotel, and they got a revolving door. So I go in the door just to kind of look around and see what the layout is, and there's just a flood of people coming in, and I'm kind of stopped, and this guy's like, up the stairs. It's like, oh, okay. So I go up the stairs, and I get to the top of the stairs, and they're like, sign in here. And it's like, oh, okay. So I sign my name and my address, and then, you know, I go and it's like, oh, well, that's kind of strange. And I go up to the bar to get a drink, and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's included, it's free. Or they didn't use the word included. They said, oh, you know, you're good, something like that. It's like, what? And so I'm getting back and I'm drinking my Guinness at the table, and it's like, that seems kind of weird. But it's like, oh, well, you know, it's opening night. It must be like this special event they do for the jazz festival opening night. You know, it's Ireland. They're just so awesome and friendly. And then they start coming around with these fancy hors d'oeuvres, and, you know, you just take them, and it's like, okay, I don't think this is right. And it turns out it was like this VIP event. It was like you have to buy tickets for, and it was like the mayor came up and spoke, and I was just in it, and I was gonna leave, but then I met up with this group of Irish people who ended up, you know, you kind of share tables, and they sat at my table, and they thought it was hilarious that I just walked in off the street to this VIP event, and they just totally took me in. It's like, you know, doctors and lawyers and stuff, and yeah, it was a blast, and the band was good, and yeah, free Guinness and hors d'oeuvres, and yeah, that's my my accidental VIP story. I totally crashed this VIP event in Cork, Ireland, and yeah, it was awesome though. And Irish people are amazing. They are just so fun and inviting, and it doesn't really matter like what caste they are. You know, like Ireland's awesome, and the people are what make it. So yeah, that was great. So thanks for the question. Next question is my mom asked, how have your monthly expenses changed? Well, I don't track them. That's how they've changed the most. They've gone up a bit from those 2 videos that I did, but I'll get into that in a later question because it gets asked again in a different way. The next question is from Coda Concert House. Do I forage for edibles? No. I have had some berries and stuff in Washington, like salmon berries, blackberries, some blueberries, but that is very rare. Like I don't really forage for edibles. And they also asked, is it a challenge to eat healthy while living in a van? I would say for the times when I'm like this, where I'm just settled into my van life, I camp for a few days or whatever, and then go to the grocery store, camp for a few days, like that sort of thing, I do pretty good as far as healthy eating. I do lots of fruits and vegetables. There's an amazing amount you can cook with just one pot and one pan and a 1 burner. So I do pretty good. I eat relatively healthy. When I go bad for healthy eating is when I am working, because part of the problem with living in a van is it's just so much harder to do everything. You have to have things in their special spot and you have to get them out. A regular kitchen is set up so much easier. It's so much easier to cook and clean and do dishes and all that in a regular kitchen. And it's more, there's just a level of complexity in a van and a level of having to get things out before you can even begin. And then you have, it's just harder. It's harder to cook, flat out. But when you have nothing going on, that's not a big deal at all. And I find myself cooking. Where I run into problems is when I'm working, like the beet harvest. I ate garbage. I ate bad food, and yeah. So when I'm working, it's bad, and when I'm traveling like across the country, I end up eating a lot of fast food, and I don't end up cooking because I'm driving all day. So when I have plenty of time, I eat well. When I don't have plenty of time, I eat garbage. And I feel like that's also in regular life as well. And that's the way it was for me in regular life. So, yeah. Shawnee B asks, are you self-taught on the banjo? Yes. I had a couple of banjo videos that I started with. And after that, I just kind of learned by ear, a little bit of tab and stuff, but mostly watching videos to learn songs, things like that. And then just, writing my own. So, yeah, self-taught. Vanquished asks, do I find low clearance limiting for being off pavement? That's paraphrased. Not really. I think I do pretty good. Like, if I have something like a Prius or like a regular sedan, I think it would be a bit limiting having the Transit Connect. It has not a ton of clearance, but maybe what you would get on like a Subaru Outback. It does pretty good for me. And because it's such a small van, the wheels are close together this way and this way. So the wheels are close together in both directions. So having that close wheelbase, I can go a lot of places. I avoid sand for sure, because I don't have 4-wheel drive, and I avoid mud. But I've definitely taken this thing some places. So it is mildly limiting, but overall, not much. Like I get everywhere more or less that I want to go, and the places that I can't get, I've got a backpack for. So yeah. Data Girl, GRL, asks, how much food do you keep with you? What is your setup for prepping, and do you have a fridge? I have a big, like, storage tote full of different food items and whatnot. It's actually, the camera's on top of it right now. I'm filming from the storage tote. So I probably have, like, if society collapsed, I probably have about a month's worth of food I could go on, and it wouldn't be an ideal month, but I probably have about a month worth of food that I can make work with what I got. And as far as your setup for prepping, I don't have like a separate prep table. What I've been doing is pulling my I put my driver's seat forward, pull my mattresses forward, and I prep on my bed frame on my, I just prep right on my bed frame. So I have a little spot right there to do my prep and then cook. And it works out pretty good for me. And yeah, I have a fridge. I have a Dometic 18. It's 18 liters of space. They say it holds 23 12-ounce cans. So if you get a case of beer, you have to drink one. But that gives you an idea of how much space is in there. So it's a small fridge. But for one person, I think it hits my needs pretty well. I mean, it helps. I store things like mayonnaise in those little sauce jars that you have and whatever, and my butter, and then, it's enough to get like those standards that are always in there, and then some fruits and vegetables and meat and cheese and a couple beers. So it works out pretty well. Mike Maynard asks, what campsite and river would you recommend for fly fishing? Well, sorry for all the background noise. There's people going by on the road. I don't fly fish. However, I lived in Wyoming for 20 years. There's lots of great fly fishing in Wyoming. And like one of the famous rivers is the Green River. And one of my favorite spots is camping out on the way to the Green River Lakes or at the Green River Lakes. Either way, which border on the Wind River Range. And fishing on the Green there is great. There's free camping along a large portion of the river there. And you just have to have bug protection. You need mosquito repellent, you need some sort of bug net, like tent thing. And you need shade cover because the camping areas along the river are pretty exposed. But Green River Lakes, highly recommend for fly fishing and campsite. Yeah, there you go. And I did a video on the Green River Lakes. You can find it somewhere in my catalog. Jonathan Jasper asks, what's your average monthly, yearly budget, and what would I recommend for beginners? I probably spend about $800 to $1,000 a month. So that puts your budget at around $10,000 to $12,000 a year. But that's not always the case. Some years it goes up if I had big van repairs. I think the year that I went to Taiwan, I obviously had extra expenses that year from traveling, but then I also had a big van repair. So it can go up from there, but that was kind of what my starting was. And as far as what I would recommend for beginners, it's going to vary so much depending on how much you travel, What kind of vehicle are you traveling in? How much beer do you drink? What kind of food do you like? There's too many variables to even guess at what your budget is going to be. But what I will say is really helpful is to track your budget for the first couple months to know what you're spending your money on, and is that what you want to be spending your money on. So, yeah, no idea what your budget should be, but track it. And that will help you find out what your budget needs to be for you. Jonathan Jasper also asked, to do over again, would you buy the same van? What do you not like about your van build? I would probably buy the Ford Transit Connect again. I think it was a great first van for me. I don't know if it will be my next van, but it was a good first van for me. It was a good, not really knowing exactly what style I wanted to do. It was a good compromise between a great gas mileage car and a full-size van. Because I do a lot of traveling, so having that gas mileage is really nice. So yeah, overall, I would do it again. What do you like or not like about your van build? Okay, so I built my van build so I can convert it into a double bed, which is great on the surface. But the sacrifice I made is that I cannot sit up in my bed. My bed's too high because I have to have it high enough for my refrigerator, that when I convert it to double bed, it has to be at least that high. So I think that's the thing I would probably change, is that, if I have another person with me, that's so rare, that's what a tent's for. Is set up a tent and do that. And I don't need to have space for two people in my van. I would go to just a single bench bed and have it lower. I think that's what I would do. And if I have a setup where if I have a second person in, I can put a plank and have 2 level beds, that's cool. But to have a double bed going across, no. It was kind of a mistake, honestly. I should have it lower where I can sit up in my bed, which would make this van so much more practical on when it's raining and other things. So yeah, that would be, I would lower the bed and just leave it as a single bench bed and not worry about it as a double bed. Jeff Wrinkle asks if I have any plans to through hike the PCT or other long trail plans in 2022 or future years. And Douglas Elliott asked a similar question. That is a well-timed question because I just had something else fall through, which I'll get to in a second, that I plan to be doing this spring. So I am highly considering that right now. I think it's currently January 8th or 9th or something, 8th. And on the 11th, the PCT has their second go-rounds on the permits. So I could conceivably still try to get in the lottery for a PCT permit. But I don't think I'm interested in that. I think I'm more interested in hiking the AT this year, for a couple of different reasons. One is that I haven't been to every place on the PCT. I obviously haven't hiked the whole PCT, but I've been to all the parts throughout my life, and I've never been to the eastern United States. I've never been in that, that upper, the Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. I've never done that part of the country on any level. So the AT is probably higher on my list. And yeah, I'm seriously thinking about it right now. Like, I am considering hiking the AT this year. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, no, I'm thinking about it. And the other thing is that the PCT right now, their wildfires are getting worse and worse every year. And there's a good chance that I would have to skip a portion of the trail, get shut down for wildfires, not be able to see anything because through the smoke. And you don't really have to worry about that in the east too much. So if I'm just going to do one, I'm leaning towards the AT, and I am seriously thinking about it. So that could happen. That could happen. My uncle T, asks what happened to Mexico trip. COVID complications? Question mark. Yeah, so I never talked about this. This is privy information that my uncle has. But me and Jax's mom were going to go to Mexico. We had plans for January. We had our Airbnbs booked. We were going to do Mexico City and Oaxaca and maybe Guanajuato, but that was up in the air. And then we, for various circumstances, had to change those dates to March. We were going to go to Mexico, and then that, that fell through, mostly for COVID reasons. So no Mexico. Future. We'll do it in the future. And yeah, I think I might end up doing a long trail instead. Catherine Arnold asks, how's the van? Any thoughts about changing rigs? The van is doing good. Definitely has some idling problems right now. I have 250,000 miles on this thing. 250,000 miles on the van. So I don't know how much longer it's gonna go. I'm gonna ride it till it dies pretty much. And then changing rigs, I am totally torn. Like, if I would go bigger or smaller. Like, there's a part of me that would love to just get like a Toyota Prius and mostly tent camp, but then set it up where I can sleep in the back if I need to, and just travel and get better gas mileage and all that. But there's another part of me that would love to be able to like hang up a shirt on like a clothes hanger, which I can't currently do in my setup. So yeah, totally torn. I don't think I would go with the same rig once this dies. I think I'll go for either something bigger or something smaller. I think of the Ford Transit Connect like a futon, and a car is a couch, and a van is a bed. And the Ford Transit Connect is like the uncomfortable couch that converts into an uncomfortable bed. It's not ideal as either, but for my circumstances, I think it's worked out well. But I think for the next go around, I might just go for a couch or a bed. The car or a van, or a full-size van. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Might have to change the channel name, or the channel name works on a couple of different levels. So that's part of the reason that I chose it, is that if I ever changed vans, like Toby in Transit still works. Samantha Dodd asks, have I thought about a different van? So yes. And then, how did you get into cooking? I'm a foodie, first and foremost. And my dad was a chef growing up, but I just always loved food, and especially cultural food, like real Mexican cooking, Asian cooking. I love food. Um, I remember my uncle took me to like an Ethiopian restaurant when I was a kid, and I thought that was amazing. Like, I love food, and I think that's where my love of cooking comes from. Is just a love of eating, really. And as far as learning, like, you know, you taste so many different things if you're a foodie like me, that you just kind of figure out what works together and what doesn't. But I also had a somewhat of a base from my dad being a chef, and then I worked cooking jobs early in my life, which helped some. But yeah, that's kind of where I got my cooking from. And as far as like my presentations, I do those even when I'm not doing the channel. Before I'd had the channel, and just on my own, I always do like a presentation for one. And I don't know, I just like it. I think it's fun. I think it's like it's just part of what, you know, cooking is an art. It really is, and that's just part of the mosaic, is having a nice, pretty meal. Gary asks, how's the van doing? So yeah, I addressed that. Pretty good. Could be better. But it's still running. So that's good. I got that going for me, which is nice. Guy Martin asks, let's see, where is it? Do you plan to travel outside of the U.S. and any thoughts about visiting Patagonia? So obviously I just had to cancel my trip to Mexico. And as far as Patagonia goes, I've been there. It's awesome. I've been to the northern reaches up in Bariloche, and so this is in Argentina. And yeah, I've also been to Patagonia, Arizona, but I don't think that's what he was asking after. So yeah, Patagonia is really neat. I would love to go back and explore the southern reaches where you really get into the glaciers and everything. But yeah, that was 2009. I went to Argentina. Way back in the day, I went for 12 days, which isn't long enough. But it was an awesome trip. That was my first trip that I needed a passport for. I got my passport after I bought my tickets late night. I had a few beers, got on the internet, bought my tickets, and then woke up the next morning and was like, oh, okay, I'm going to Argentina. I need a passport. So yeah, that was 2009. Karma Safari, a nice name, asks, are you going to the RTR or near? I've been to the RTR twice. First time I loved it. Second time I was only there a couple of days and I never really found my group, and it's just kind of too big for me. I don't know. However, Adventure Van Man is having a little gathering near there, so I might try to meet up with that group. He's going to be posting more in the future. So yeah, I might go to there, which would be in the same area. And maybe it'll even be a little section of the RTR. I don't know. But I might do that. I haven't decided yet. And then James Pace also asked the same question. Am I going to the RTR? Yeah, don't think so. But maybe Adventure Man Man's little near the RTR gathering. And Glenn Higginbottom, last question, asks, am I going to work at ski resorts again? So pretty much the whole reason I moved into a van was to get away from the snow. Snow sucks. I'm over it. I'm over cold temperatures. I'm over the snow. So yeah, no. I did work at a ski resort in 99, 2000. That was Stevens Pass in Washington. I worked there for one winter. And yeah, my ski days are behind me and my snow days are behind me. I want Arizona winters. Or maybe California, Texas, Florida, yeah, whatever. But definitely not where it's snowing. Over that. So yeah, that's my questions and answers. So thanks for tuning in. I know this is a really long video, but you just know there was too many questions the way of getting around it. I could have split into two, but let's just get this out there. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the fun stuff.